RC, thank you.
Later, guys.
The Denver Nuggets reminded us just how good they can be when they have their starting five on the floor and they're healthy. It was the first time since November that the Nuggets won with its opening night lineup together. Jamal Murray had 30, Nikola Jokic had 16, 13, and 12. To give the Nuggets the blowout win over the Rockets, Durant struggled, finished with 11 points. He only took 8 shots. And the entire team, meaning the entire Rockets team, went 4 of 33 from 3. Let's go back, though, to the Joker stat line. Jokic picked up his league-leading 25th triple-double of the season, and he did it in 3 quarters against the Rockets last night. This is Jokic's 4th season with at least 25 triple-doubles, and that is now tied with Russell Westbrook for the most in NBA history. Vincent Goodwill now joins us here. I see your Jordans in the background. Okay, Vince. Did last night say more about Houston and their issues or Denver and the way they can be dominant? Vince, what do you think?
Look, I have my concerns about the Houston Rockets, but I think Denver, for the reasons that you pointed out, Shay, the first time they've had their starting five in a game that they've won since November. Think about what we've seen from the Nuggets the past couple of weeks. Stephen A's Knicks waxed them on their home floor. They lost twice to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They lost to Minnesota on national TV. They needed this win for their own confidence because not only are they tied for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th in that cluster, they have the Phoenix Suns nipping at their heels, trying to get out of the play-in. If you're the Nuggets and you find yourself in the play-in and you find yourself playing in the first round possibly against the champion Nuggets who you struggle against or the San Antonio Spurs, that could be a disaster. Last night hitting 17 threes. Remember, guys, they got 7 guys that shoot over 40% from 3. That makes them the most potent offensive team in the league if all parties are healthy. Now, Jokic, he has the wrist that he's dealing with. Jamal Murray has the ankle. Stephen A, I still think Denver is a championship contender. I just need to see them play a lot more because the regular season is ending and it's ending rather quickly. And Stephen A, I've just got a quick question for you. Are you searching for the Batman this morning? Are you searching for Commissioner Gordon? You're looking kind of jokerish right now. How you doing?
Well, let me say this to you because I'm marking down the inconsistencies. I didn't hear you speak so glowingly about Denver the other day when we were talking about the Western Conference. Shay, you were there. You were an eyewitness. We talked about Spurs, talked about OKC. We saw Brian Windhorst was on the show with Big Perk, was on the show with us, and we saw Vincent Goodwill tap dancing like the late great Gregory Hines. God rest his soul. I mean, that's what we saw. So now here he is talking about the Denver Nuggets like, you know what? Oh my goodness, they're a threat. And what was I saying? How the hell are y'all counting out the Denver Nuggets? Excuse me, last night was the first time their starting five has played together since mid-November. All I'm worried about is Aaron Gordon getting healthy. The brothers could shoot. They addressed their depth issues in the offseason. Jokic and Murray, I don't want to face them if I'm anybody. Denver is legit. Do not sleep on them. Do not underestimate them. But to answer this question directly, did this result say more about the Rockets than the Nuggets? Yo, Vinny, I'm going to go with the Rockets on this one. 4-33 from three-point range, really? That's what we're doing? That's what we're doing, Houston Rockets? 4-33. 4 of 33. That's 12%. What the hell is that about? Now, I don't care about Kevin Durant's 11 points. He's KD. Listen, hey, the brother's entitled to an off night. We all have off nights, okay? The brother's entitled. Where the rest of y'all at? I tell you where the rest of y'all are at. Going nowhere. Houston probably going home in the first round. They keep this stuff up because they only a half game ahead of Denver for the 3rd seed. Denver's in the 5th seed, and Denver can rock. It's only a half game out of the 3rd seed. You know, you talk about how crowded the Western Conference is, okay? Houston keep messing around. They're gonna get their asses home in the first round, okay? Fred VanVleet, I've said on the record that if this brother were healthy, I might have had Houston going to the finals, winning it all, because that's how valuable he is. That's how valuable a point guard who can shoot is to the Houston Rockets. How do we know this? Last night, perfect evidence. Not only that, let's look at the Houston Rockets statistically. Assist percentage in the National Basketball Association, dead last. Of 30 teams in the NBA, assist to turnover ratio, they're 29th. Screen assist points per game, 27th. Turnover percentage, 28th. And in clutch time, they're middle of the pack, the 16th. That ain't winning you anything when it really, really counts. It's not getting it done. That's what the situation is with the Houston Rockets right now. We know that they can start 4 dudes at least 6'11". We know they got size. We know they can defend somewhat. We know that KD is a #1 option, bona fide first ballot Hall of Famer, still lethal at age 37. We get all of that. But you don't have a point guard. You don't have somebody to control tempo and pace. You don't have somebody to keep those turnovers down, to capitalize in a positive way in terms of the points to turnover ratio. You don't have any of that going on. And when they are not clicking offensively, they fall apart. This is not a team that clicks, that struggles offensively and just says, we're going to lock you down and we're going to win ugly. No. Unfortunately, they nosedive. And last night was evidence of that when they gave Ime Udoka his worst loss as a coach in Houston, and I think, period. And we all know what a phenomenal coach he is. It's not just a bad night. It's the fact that they're a flawed team. And as the season progresses and the playoffs approach, we're witnessing that.
Yeah, and I think we're not accustomed to not seeing Kevin Durant take over a game like this. He really struggled in this one and just felt like he had absolutely no answers. You could see the frustration on
He had no help. He had no help.
Mostly because he had no help, but also he just didn't have it.
I saw faith.
Absolutely. As long as they got a guy in Jokic on that squad, I don't think that's ever a question. But I think the main issue with Denver this year has just been health. It's been a lot of guys in and out of the lineup. They're still struggling, to kind of remain healthy. Also, they made that big all-season move with trading Michael Porter Jr., and they're not really getting the production or what they expected from, Cameron Johnson. I believe his name's Cameron Johnson. Yeah.
Johnson.
With that being said, I think the missing piece of MPJ was a really big hole for them, and missing that offense, missing that chemistry and that camaraderie. On paper, it seemed like a good move at the time because they got a lot of pieces back. They were able to kind of fill out their bench as well, but just that starting 4 spot with Cameron Johnson, it hasn't reached the potential that they thought it would. And I would also just throw health in there. One of the biggest things for a regular season is being healthy, and that's just something they haven't really been able to do this season. But once this team gets healthy, there's no doubt in my mind they're a contender in the West, and especially with a guy and Jokic being on the floor. So it's all about health at this point for me.
Yeah, and if I look at these two teams, I'm way more concerned about Houston because they've had these bad losses where their offense gets so stagnant. It's all ISO. They don't play fast, and it's almost like they don't use their biggest skill set with his athleticism and length and get out and play. So to me, I'm more concerned about them. When you look at Denver, it's interesting because I loved that move this offseason for Cam Johnson, like Boogie said. And then MPJ goes to Brooklyn and is putting up 25, 26 a game, and it was damn near an all-star, and Cam still hasn't found his rhythm for Denver. And then you look at all the injuries they've had with Christian Brown missing some time. Aaron Gordon's just now getting back in the lineup. They did find something with Peyton Watson while those guys were out. Now he's out, so they haven't been really whole this whole season. Jamal Murray obviously is a first-time all-star, and Jokic is doing what Jokic does. But when this team is fully healthy and complete, I do still think they're a contender and a real threat to get out of the West. And I think they are obviously the biggest challenges for those young OKC and San Antonio teams to get to the finals again. So I think they're going to be fine. I think their bench, I think, Hardaway's been a good pickup. Hardaway's almost done what I thought Cam Johnson was going to be doing for them in a way with providing shooting. They get Bruce Brown back, who was a huge piece of that championship team. So I do think the Nuggets will be just fine. And we haven't really seen them fully healthy yet.
Which is terrifying, by the way. And Lou, the 3, 4, 5, 6 situation is a hot, beautiful mess. When you look at that, do you look at Denver and think, yeah, they're probably still the top 3 here, despite whatever this looks like?
I got to take it for face value. They're a team that's trying to figure it out. That was a good win last night, but they've had their inconsistencies, like the guys just mentioned. 7 and 10 over their last 17 games. I think Cam Johnson, he hasn't quite replaced MPJ as we thought he would, but he's been decent, averaging like 11 points a game, this and that. The big thing to me is Aaron Gordon being in and out of the lineup and him trying to find a rhythm and getting back into the groove of this game. He's that third piece that's going to get them over the hill, and until he has one of those breakout games that can turn into turning that into, a 5 to 10 game run where he's consistent and where we can see him really play at the level that he's capable of playing, I think that's when you'll begin to see the Denver Nuggets team that we've grown accustomed to seeing. Until then, I think they're just going to be where they are, in a 4 or 5 spot, fighting for their lives to try to get home court advantage. But I think once, like I said, once Aaron Gordon kind of gets his feet up under him and he finds a rhythm and be that 17 to 20 points a game guy that we've gotten used to seeing him be for them, that's when I think we see a Denver Nuggets team. Last night he had 0 points, didn't have a lot of impact in that game, and they still steamroll a team. So imagine if you can get him going and he's an added layer to what you're trying to accomplish. That makes this Denver team completely different in my opinion.
This is going to be rowdy, this Western Conference playoff situation. The last month, I know it's been difficult. I really, when you look at it, even with the Nuggets sitting there lower, it's just going to be rough. Whoever gets whoever, this is going to be a tough battle, Boogie. How hard is this part of the season?
Team, though.
Well, what's wrong? What is the
Rockets,
deal?
regardless, are going to have a really tough first-round matchup.
I just don't understand how you spend this whole season, you lose Fred VanVleet in the offseason, coming into the season, and you know how valuable that guy is to this team. And you have all this time realizing how inconsistent your team has been all year, and you still don't make a play for some sort of a veteran PG. That's literally all this team is missing. They need somebody out there to control the offense, control the flow of the game. That's it. You got a guy like Chris Paul sitting at home who's the perfect guy for that role. You don't need 40 minutes from him, just a guy that can give you 20, 18, just in those moments where the offense gets stagnant, you lose that flow in the game. Just somebody to set up everybody on the floor. That's all that's really needed for this offense. And, they still don't make a move. So it's kind of mind-blowing to me that they would, allow this season to kind of go to waste. You invest in Kevin Durant at the age that he's at. And it almost seems like you're kind of wasting a year of Kevin Durant's years that are left. So that's just mind-blowing to me that the Rockets would continue to go through this season without, attending to the issue, which is getting a point guard. I'm baffled by that.
Well, I think they got sucked into being successful, Boogie. End of the day, they 65 games in, right? And they still in the 3rd spot. And they've been consistently in that position for the course of the year. So when you stay in a spot like that, sometimes, you can drink the Kool-Aid and feel like we're okay right here. We're going to be all right. And then once you kind of hit some turbulence, you have to address the problems that you have. Like you just said, if that was a glaring problem that we saw at the beginning of the year, it might have been a little fool's gold how y'all were able to get into your offense and get into a rhythm until it's a problem. And you never address that concern. So I'm with you on that, Boogie. They should have addressed that concern, but I think they kind of got wrapped up in them being able to win some games and getting into a great flow and staying in home court advantage, up until this point of the season.
Now it's too late. Got to deal with what you have. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll talk to Norris Cole. We'll be right back.
Run it up.